What's the weirdest dream that you've ever had? I once had a dream where I was a beautiful, big-breasted, Italian businesswoman. During a seizure in 5th grade, I had a dream where I was in my grandparents' living room. I was sitting in the floor, and in all on the couch and in their recliners were zoo animals. They were just staring at me. That was it. The whole dream. I had this dream once about a girl in London in the 1960s or 70s. She was working at a clothing shop and was super excited about getting off work that day so she could go meet her boyfriend. Her co-workers warned her that dating a man of such high social rank, I think he was a noble, was only going to break her heart. So after she gets off work, she gets to this beautiful field outside of London where he's set up a picnic basket with a blanket and a bottle of champagne, etc. Well, she sits down and they're having a drink and laughing, and he finally looks at her and says, "I have something very important to discuss with you." And you can tell she's excited because she thinks she's getting proposed to, but I could tell by the look on his face he was getting ready to break up with her. This is where the dream gets kind of weird. He turns to me, looked me directly in the face, and asks, "Could you please leave? I'd really like a little privacy for this part if you don't mind." I woke up gasping in a deep fear that made no sense. I don't remember a lot of my dreams, but I experienced this in high school, and I'm turning 40 this year and I've never forgotten it. I've had many. The most recent was I had 2 penises and was trying to figure out how to explain it or hide it. It was weird. I have a habit of writing down my dreams, so here's an odd one. Okay, so my aunt and uncle were a part of a magic food science research lab. They were brought in by the Ministry of Magic and the Food Department, which was actually run by Jillian Michaels, who was a witch. They wanted to create food that either did not have calories or digesting the food would burn more calories than it provided. They both quit their jobs and using real food science and spells they did it. They made a decadent chocolate cake that had no calories and no physical impact on the body, just the psychological bliss of eating delicious chocolate cake. But my aunt became obsessed with eating the cake and the project timeline fell behind because it wasn't just spells, it was real science too. They both got fired and banned from the Magic Government Research Building. My aunt broke into the building to get one last slice of cake and she got arrested and went to Azkaban, but actually, Jillian Michaels was behind my aunt's feeling about the cake because she mixed a love potion into it because was in love with my aunt. So she got my aunt out of Azkaban and then I woke up. Face with tears of joy. Fucking bizarre. Lucid dream. Told dream character she wasn't real and she poked her finger in my ear like a wet willy from hell and I felt it touch inside my head on opposite side of head. Can't even begin to explain my dreams, but recently had a brief one where the entirety of the plot revolved around the fact that I was a 25-year-old black Muslim man. I am a very white teenage girl. Different versions of my brother were falling from the sky all over the world. My weirdest dream was kinda creepy. I was back in 1st grade playing outside when suddenly everyone ran away. So I was just standing there all confused and decided to walk around the school to try and find them. Couldn't find anybody, so I went inside through the fire exit, for some reason. FYI, the fire exit at my old elementary school was located in one of the classrooms, and the moment I entered, the whole interior of the building looked like it had been abandoned for 10+ years. Wet puddles/stains on the carpet, cracked wallpaper, broken glass, vines, and a moldy odor. I exited the classroom into the halls and there was just a single teacher, standing there, at the end of the hallway, blocking the main entrance with her head down. Me not trusting it, I walked back outside, stepped on my bicycle and drove away. The moment I exited the school grounds, the dream slowly faded away and I woke up. It was a very strange dream. Still remember it clear as day 6 years later. It wasn't a nightmare because I didn't feel fear. I just felt confusion the whole way through. I gave birth to thousands of starfish that then sorta congealed into one big starfish. Running through a burning building with one of my friends, who was clearly distressed, we eventually hid, from something I think, behind a shelf, where he pulled out a gun and begged me to kill him because he couldn't do it himself. Shit traumatized me and was 1/5 extremely real and horrifying night terrors I had over my first week of tolerance break from marijuana. Hippies that can go through walls invaded my house. I was a kid. I woke up to an empty house and everything was trashed. I'm walking around looking for someone and notice somebody on my porch, so I go outside. It looked like a kid but he had a really big head. I asked him where my parents were and he said he killed them. For some reason I sat beside him and had a conversation I don't remember, then I woke up. Freaked me out for years thinking I was going to wake up one day and my family is dead. I once dreamt that I was a rat. I was on a conveyor belt and there were rats ahead of and behind me on the belt. I was soon after picked up by a mechanical arm and placed into a meat and potato pie of some sort. Then the crust of the pie was draped over me and it was just heavy enough that I couldn't claw my way out without the meat and potato filling giving way under my tiny rat paws like a car whose tires were stuck in a mud pit. After some struggling, the pie started heating up and I was painfully cooked. The sensation of my skin cracking as I cooked was so disturbing and vivid that I can remember it almost a half a year after having the dream. My sex dreams are always weird and distorted. My most notable ones I can currently remember are 1. Hooking up with a guy whose penis was shaped exactly like a duck penis, very thin, long corkscrew noodle penis, which I don't think went anywhere, and 2. Sucking off a guy whose penis was a banana, with my male cousin of all people sitting next to him and judging. He did not enjoy the suck due to the having a literal banana as a penis. I was doing drugs with Danny DeVito, but he replaced all my pills with Tic Tacs so he could get a better high. My grandpa passed away a year and a few months ago. 2 nights ago I had a dream about when I was a little kid and running around the stands in a rugby stadium and he was there. The whole crowd was cheering for some reason. I woke up crying, which has never happened, and I couldn't stop thinking about it since. Maybe because he always made me feel more special than I was as a little kid. I miss him, he was the best. Fever dream that recurred several times during my childhood when I had a bad flu. This giant metallic disc / coin cosmic thing / destroyer of worlds was rolling toward me, crushing everything in its path, with me sort of jump / zooming in on the horrified people being crushed under its immense weight. It demanded I sacrifice my brother to it, which led me to begging my parents for a coin and some thread at 4 a.m., a talisman to protect us from this thing. It was a repeating scenario, so I would run through it multiple times, felt like for days / weeks, even though it was really only a few hours when my fever peaked. I had a dream where I was walking to the local library, and when I'm around 20 feet away from the entrance, I see my sister's friend, F16, she looks at me, and then suddenly her head gets super big like in those Airhead ads, and she just floats away like a balloon. Getting chased by xenomorphs from aliens in a circus with a bunch of clowns. I went to go to my dad's place for the weekend, and when I arrived everyone was a purple bush of leaves like a virus. I tried fighting them but I was overwhelmed and turned into one of them. I was 7 at the time. I once went skydiving from space in a weird cardboard satellite with Samuel L. Jackson and landed on a continent that looked like Africa, and when we landed there was a large amount of African animals in very close proximity to each other in a box store with a small bush tree farm right next to it, and when I asked a worker in the store where we were he said New York. The world was ending and I woke up crying. Happened 2 nights in a row. While I was with my ex-girlfriend, one of the nights I had a dream that I was in bed with another girl with big sharp teeth. So many, but one that I remember, I was in the top bunk and something / someone was coming up the ladder. When it got to the top I shoved. Near pushed my wife out of bed. You're supposed to have muscle paralysis when you're in the dream cycle of sleep. I sent a hit out for my brother and got him killed. I had a dream one time of my wife getting cancer. In a house I've never been. Etc. etc. It hurt. I put a good face and spent the last of our 4 months together. She passed about 6 weeks later. The loss I felt is unexplainable. I've never felt that way in my entire life, and this was just a dream. So I can't understand how I felt like this. After about a year, my 4th daughter was visiting. After she left I hung my wife's wedding dress up in a doorway on a swivel and danced with the dress to remember the dance I had with her when we were getting married. Again, the emotions are ones I've never felt. It was oddly wholesome. So far we're engaged. We never owned a house yet one of this dream I had. I've never even been in a similar house. I can't even begin to explain the emotions I had. It was honestly so much. TBH, I swear I thought I died, and it was showing the life I would have had, but I woke up. The worst part is no matter how hard I try to describe these feelings, I can't. Not sure if this counts, but there was a chunk of time where I had insomnia and I had a habit of chugging flat Red Bull with a caffeine pill when I got up in the morning while I waited for my coffee to brew. It was bad. I'm on medication for it now. Anyway, I drank my Red Bull between snooze alarms, crashed back in my bed, got up to hit the button again, but then looked down and saw myself still in the bed. Then I woke up for real, unable to move because of sleep paralysis. If that doesn't count, then the dream where I woke up and told someone, man, I just had the weirdest dream, like 3 times before I woke up for real. One of them was from the POV of a teenage boy, prompting me, an adult woman, to tell someone, I think I just had someone else's dreams for them, so that's kinda embarrassing.